Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. In this video, I'm going to get stuck in to the follow-up, the successor to our very popular flower crane in 2020 and peony chirps in 2021. These are white teas that are being made from the Assamica varieties in Yunnan province, specifically from Nan Noir area of Yunnan. So these are tea trees which are traditionally used for making raw sheng pu'er, but have been commissioned to be used to make a white tea. So we're going to be getting stuck in, tasting it. I'm going to try and do a quick A/B against these just so we can do a bit of a comparison. But let me first introduce this tea to you. This is the third in the series, our 2022 Nanwar white tea, and it is called Feather Maiden. So the same style applies. We've got this sort of paper cut style where we do this sort of mashup of like characters where it's sort of personifying flowers and birds and other elements of nature. So flower crane, just to remind everybody, was this one, the crane with all of these flowers. Peony chirps, was again a bird with a flower head. And Feather Maiden is the bird with flowers as the tail, and you can see a human figure as well appearing in this one. So let's open up this tea cake, and then we're going to compare it briefly with flower crane and peony chirps before we get stuck into a proper tasting all by itself. Ooh, yes. So let's take a look at this. So you can see white tea, and we're going to talk about the coloration on this tea. Lots and lots of bud material here, younger picking. Now let's open up the others, and we're going to see if we can put these all together so you can see the difference. Now bear in mind that this is fresh. Peony chirps has had 1 year of aging, and flower crane will have had 2 years of aging. Okay, so right, so can we all see this in one frame? Let's see if we can do it like this. So we've got 2019 flower crane, 2020 peony chirps, no, 2020 flower crane, 2021 peony chirps, 2022 Feather Maiden. I'm getting my years mixed up. That's what happens when you get older, unfortunately. So first of all, let's note the color difference here. They have a similar palette. The flower crane is darkest. Now you can say, well, that's because it's got extra years on it, and that would certainly be the case. It would be true. But for those of you who purchased the series, you probably would have realized that flower crane looked a bit darker than peony chirps from opening. Also, you may have noticed that peony chirps had slightly more young buddy material. It was a little bit more of a mudan picking, mudan being the protocol of picking more buds and young leaves compared to shomei. We didn't really specify. We just say it's a white tea made out of the Assamica Dayajong variety. But certainly flower crane seemed to be more of a shomei and was darker, and the peony chirps was lighter and more bud material. And so what we've done with Feather Maiden is we've asked for the same picking as with peony chirps, so a bit more bud heavy, as you can see, compared with the flower crane here. So more buds than this one here. But what we've done is we've asked them to make it a little bit darker than peony chirps, just to accentuate more of the oxidized sweetness that you get from the oxidation. So we're going to briefly talk about how they do that, and we're going to taste these. Let me quickly scope this tea first. I want to mix it all up, even though it's not going to make much difference. So this is season April 2022. This is picking is going to be buds and up to sort of medium leaves. Origin is from Nanwar, so same place as the other two predecessors. The picking, I've just said, the elevation is around 1,400 meters. So what we're going to do is, because I don't want to mix up too much here, I'm going to get my session going here. So just break this one up. The tea tree age on this is about 150 to 200 years, around that, I believe. Or was it 100 to 150? 150 to 200. So approaching Gushu, but not quite Gushu. Or there or thereabouts. Old tea trees for sure. And I'm gonna get this scale out and quickly measure it up, even though it's not really about measuring it, it's just being able to put it somewhere. So I want to have about 3.5 grams. There's 4.3 grams there, so that should be fine. So I'm going to now move this back over here. And then we're gonna get our other guy ones here. We've got small guy ones here. And I'm going to break off. I'm not really going to measure it because this is just about doing a quick comparison in terms of taste, but it's not really like, you know, a full, you know, detailed comparative tasting. So I'm going to put some Peony Chirps in this one, and I've got to try and remember what I'm doing here. So this is Peony Chirps and a similar amount of flour crane here. If you've got all of these cakes yourself, then you might want to do this little experiment yourself. I've not actually done it, to be honest. I sort of was setting up this video and I was thinking, how am I going to describe the difference between these cakes? And I thought, well, the best way is to try to actually taste it right now. And I know I'm making a complete mess here. So everybody rolling their eyes, I agree. I should really have sorted this out, but you know how we do. It's always on the fly. No time for planning, just get on with it. Let's get the tasting underway, switch the cameras on, and let's roll. So I am gonna just try to tidy up a little bit here. My desk is just gonna get covered in leaves now. Ready? Okay, right, so we've got, let's do it the other way around. Flour crane, Peony Chirps, and then we've got the Feather Maiden here. Do I have another cake of Feather Maiden? That would be helpful. Yes, I do. So we can see them all together in a row. Always nice to see a series. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Tidy up, tidy up. Put that down here. And now what we're going to do is I'm just going to brew up the first two. I'm not going to do a full 10-step tasting. I'm not going to do nose dry leaf, etc. I just want to get a little tasting together of these two, just so that when I brew up Feather Maiden, we can have something to compare it to. All right. Quick sniff. Flour crane, very, very juicy and deep, and has an aged white tea smell. Oxidized, got that sweet black tea smell and a bit of black cherries. I'm not going to describe all, a little bit of marzipan. Very, very different, much more herbal. Much more about the herbs and the meadows and those greener notes, and that's not just because of the age, it's also because of the picking and how they processed it. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. Creamier as well, because more bud material, I'm getting more creams, more custardy quality to it. So herbs and custard, let's quickly brew these up. And I'm going to brew them strong because I really want to just get the flavor out of them. If you think I put more leaf in flour crane than Peony Chirps, then I think you'd be surprised, because Peony Chirps was a bit more compressed. So for those of you going, oh, looks like it's not quite the same amount of leaves, because flour crane is larger leaves, they will tend to look like they're more, but when you actually measure the weight, I don't think that would be the case. So I'm letting them brew up. I'm just going to put them to the side here so that I don't forget which way round they are. Tidy up my vessel a little bit. Give it a quick rinse. And then we're going to pour some hot water into this Tea Head Sky 1. And we are going to do a proper 10-step tasting of Feather Maiden. So, you may have heard about browned white tea. Let me tell you about that if you have not heard about it before. So when you are making white tea, and if you don't know how you make white tea, then go check out our videos. We did 2 videos all about white tea in China, and you can go check that out. I'll put links in the description below. When you're making white tea, you're essentially going through a controlled withering and drying process, all in one go. If it's done under the sun, great. That adds certain character to the tea. But the goal here is to bring the tea to a state of fixation by drying rather than heating. So drying the tea so that once all the moisture is gone, it can't really react so much. But this is why it's really great for aging, because it hasn't been heated and therefore the enzymes are still active in the leaf. And so just with a little bit of humidity and moisture, it will continue to age. But the point of white tea is to control that process to allow the amount of oxidation that you desire to be achieved at the point when the leaf is dry. So you're just, it's a really skilled process. You want to sort of get to that point where it's dry just when the level of oxidation has been reached. And as you age the tea, it will oxidize further and it will ferment and it will darken. And what's been happening in China is that the producers have started over the past few years, if not a little bit longer, to brown their leaves. And that means that what they're doing is they're extending that withering and drying time, or they're adding a little bit of, they're controlling the humidity to make sure that there is extra oxidation at the point of drying. So like once it's hit that dried leaf point and it's sort of stopping or stalling any development, it's achieved a little bit more oxidation, and that's called browning. And there are probably other techniques along the way. I haven't actually visited a factory that is doing more extensive browning, but that's just a natural extension of the white tea producing process, because all white tea to some degree has some oxidation. It's just about how much you are going to be, how much you want in your final product. And so there's some controversy around this, because sometimes, although not in my experience, but sometimes producers will sell that browned tea as aged tea because they can mark up the price. Now, in my experience, that's not the case. All the producers that I've dealt with have presented me the tea and say, this is a more browned one because we want to sort of accentuate that aged taste, that oxidized taste. So in my opinion, browning is not a problem as long as the producers are honest about it, of course. Now, some people have written to me and said, Peony Chirps was more green than flower crane, and flower crane had more of an aged taste. And flower crane certainly has more of an aged taste because of the fact that it's larger leaves. Shomei tends to be sweeter than the bud material, but a little bit less impactful, let's say. But it was also browned a little bit more than Peony Chirps. And so what we asked for Feather Maiden is get the same picking as Peony Chirps, so more bud heavy, but get the same level of browning as flower crane. So hopefully what we're going to get is we're sort of fine-tuning this process to get the right level, because I really love that browned taste for these Assamica varieties. It gives, I think, that oxidized taste just really adds sweetness to the whole mix. Okay, let's pour this away. I hope that makes sense. As I said, I would like to really go back to China, obviously, at some point, and see the more extensive browning process in action, because I'm sure there's lots of little tips and tricks every time you go to China. You always learn something new, or any tea producing country for that matter. Okay, let's now smell Feather Maiden. So very much more towards flower crane in terms of that sweetness. I'm getting like sweet black tea. I'm getting frangipans. I'm getting marzipans. I am getting like a very English tea quality to it. Strawberry jam, clotted cream, scones or scones, depending on your preference. I'm getting a custardy note. So it's not just clotted cream. There's a herbaceous note, but it's not herbaceous in the same way as Peony Chirps, which was more sort of like literally green mountain herbs like dried oregano and things like that. This is much more saffron, bay leaf, dried bay leaf. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at the moment. Overripe cherries. I think I said cherry for flower crane. So it's like an in-between of these two, a little bit more heavily on this side, but as it brightens up, it should change as well. Okay, I mean, as it will brighten up as I hydrate it, and then it will change as well. Right, let's give this a rinse. Let's give it a smell, and now I can compare that smell to the others. Oh, incredible. I'm getting some doughy breadiness, like rising bread. Oh, it's a delicious smell. I'm getting like cherry liqueurs, grenadine, pomegranate. The frangipane is really, really coming through, as is the bay coming through. It's got a fluffy, like marshmallow creaminess to it. This smells more oxidized and more aged. Again, 2 years and different, slightly different picking. Much woodier. I don't get so much woods in this one compared to this one. And that's sort of the playoff. When you have bigger pickings, you are going to have more sweetness. You're going to have more fruits than if it's like more bud, but you're also going to get more wood structure compared to this one. I mean, this is just vastly different. Thyme and cannabis and oregano, dried, aged. The fruits in this are there, but they're more subtle. Oh, the sweetest of the bunch. So far, very happy, because I think this is going to be the perfect combo. As I said, I'm getting bay. I'm getting like a light, a fresh apricot freshness as well. I'm getting, I want to say cooked watermelon. So watermelon that's been just sort of griddled a little bit. So it's got a bit more of a deeper quality to it. Right, check water temperature, perfect. Brew that for about 25 seconds there or thereabouts. And then we'll do a quick 3-way taste off just to conclude our comparison, and then I'm going to dive deeper into this Feather Maiden. Color looking a bit lighter than the others, but I did brew the others much heavier, so it would probably be around the same color. And you saw that the color of the leaves was not that different from flower crane. Okay, so let's taste flower crane first. Little spices happening there. Cassia and cherries. Cassia, cherries, and cedarwood. Is it? Yeah, I think so. It's made out of cedar. So, woods, fruits, a little bit of sweet spice. Creamier and dried herbs. It's very Mediterranean tasting to me. Like I've made a custard with bay leaves and oregano and a little bit of thyme, and it's got a spiciness in the mouth, a zinginess in the mouth. And that is going to also predominantly come from the younger picking. The more buds and the younger leaves for white teas are always going to bring out more cream, more spice, more texture in the mouth as well. Definitely got a juicier, zingier feel. Okay, here we go. Feather Maiden 2022. Hotter. Ooh. Oh, sweeter. So much sweeter. So I'm getting those pomegranates and those cooked watermelons. I'm getting vanilla ice cream. Straight up vanilla ice cream with strawberry jam. I'm getting cassia, just like in the flower crane. So the spice and the woodsy notes are there, but much lighter, much more the fruits and the sweetness of flower crane, but then the creams and the herbal notes of Peony Chirps. And that's exactly what we were going for. And, you know, we're so lucky that we have producers that are sort of listening to us and tweaking and tailoring their productions to our feedback to try to get that right level for us for what is essentially a relatively new type of tea. White tea has been made in Yunnan, you know, for a while, especially with Yue Guangbai Moonlight White and imitations of sort of silver needles out there. So you can get silver needles from Yunnan, and they're great. They're very, very aromatic. But this type of, you know, using more of a mudan to shomei picking and pressing into cakes and looking for the sweetness that is coming from age, that's a relatively new thing. It's new in China. It's only about 10 years old in China, and in Yunnan, probably only a few years. It's always hard to make generalizations because you just don't know what producers have been doing in the background in all their little homestead, you know, production facilities. Bay leaf custard. Imagine you take a custard and you've infused it with bay leaf. It's got that sweet, slightly cinnamony quality to it. But then I'm getting the maraschino, cherry liqueur, vanilla ice cream. Let me see if we can pull out some of the more woody notes in this tea if I brew it a little bit harder. It's got a lovely sweet finish in the mouth as well. I'm not going to describe that sweetness right now. Oh, a little bit of yeah, it's just there. A little bit of cocoa. Yeah, a little bit of cocoa. That's interesting. Not deep, dark, bitter cocoa. More like, I don't know, a light cocoa, like a sort of almost veering towards milk chocolate, but it is more cocoa. Oh. Color is a nice golden with a slight green tinge to it. Smooth, thick. As thick as this one is thinner. And that, again, shomei, larger leaves, going to have a thinner texture compared with having more of the buds in there. It's got a bit of malt. It has that slightly dried grass, sweet dried grass, hay kind of field meadowy quality. So if this was more like dried herbs, like this one, the Peony Chirps is a little bit greener. This one, it's like they've all dried down a little bit more. They've all gone a bit more yellowed. that browning process. It's so fascinating, isn't it? That browning process happens throughout nature, and so you can pick up all those qualities in the tea. So it's got like a little bit more of a hay sweetness. You know how some black teas, especially Yunnan Dianhongs, have that malty, slightly sweet grass, sweet hay quality to it. That's what this has. It also has a little bit of just a touch of a chocolatey note to it in there, which again reminds me of some of the black teas from Yunnan. It also has a creamy white rabbit candy, for those of you who know, which I guess, how would you describe it? Like a milk dud candy. Creamy, sweet, herbaceous, and then the sweet, the fruits are coming through, like maraschino cherries, cherry liqueur, and a little spice of bay and cassia. How much I've got? Probably one more infusion in this kettle. So we're going to do third infusion, and I'm going to leave you, and I'm going to sit through this and see what the body sensation is like. So for those of you who have had, warm enough. For those of you who have had flower crane and peony chirps and noticed this significant difference between the two, this was, intentional from our point of view. So peony chirps had more of that classic Fujian white peony sort of quality. And then with Feather Maiden, we said, no, we want to push it a little bit more. We want a little bit more of that sweetness, a little bit more of that oxidized black tea quality to it. You can see that golden liquor that is much more reminiscent of a Dianhong black tea. This is not a black tea, and it tastes like a white tea, just to make sure I put that out there, but it has that sweet character that Yunnan black teas always exhibit, and why Yunnan black teas are world famous. Third infusion, I think. Cheers, everybody. Oh, and the structure in the mouth, because of that bud material and the younger leaves, just has that oomph and minerality, and I can feel it in my stomach already. I think it's going to be stronger than flower crane in terms of its body sensation because of that the younger leaves that are involved here. You can see if we put them together. Different size guy ones, okay, so you're gonna have to, there's gonna be natural difference in appearance. Also, these have only had one infusion, these have had more, so this is more open. But you can see here larger leaves, and this is finer leaves, and this is got those fine leaves as well. So this is closer to this one. If this one was more opened up, it would look very, very similar. Super drinkable, just a quaffable tea. And I suspect a little bit more potent than I first thought it would be. Let's smell the empty gongdabe. The taste in my mouth is sweet, like acacia. Is it acacia syrup? One of those newfangled plant syrups. It just has like that sort of sappy sweetness in the mouth. The smell, ooh. I'm getting those custards, very creamy. I'm getting those white rabbits. It's almost got a slight whipped cream quality to it as well. It reminds me of something, because it's got this not slightly nutty sugared nuts. but it's not that carameled. I think those dim sum sweet steamed buns, usually they have pink coloring on it, and I think inside is a lotus seed paste, sweet lotus seed paste steamed buns. Delicious. I'm going to come back after another few infusions and I'll let you know about the body sensation. Right, I'm brewing up the 9th infusion here. So this is number 8. Taste is remarkably consistent. I think I wrote maximum or average maximum 8 infusions. Clearly I'm wrong. This can go for many more than that. We're always conservative about writing how many infusions you can get out of it. This will go past 10. This is number 9, and I think you could just keep going. And of course you can boil the leaves at the end. So just put them in water and simmer them for about 10 or 15 minutes. Ooh, it's got such an amazing feeling in the stomach. It's really actually got a comforting feeling in the stomach and makes me feel a little bit like I'm getting the munchies. You know, it sort of like is stimulating hunger, which is a nice character of this tea. And it's got a nice buzzy, bright energy. Yes, slightly trippy. Yes, slightly sort of, you know, out there, but overall just a really lovely, buzzy, humming energy, and this sensation of digesting and clearing, but also stimulating a little bit of appetite. Although I haven't eaten today, so it might just be that I'm genuinely hungry. But usually that's fine for me. I don't normally eat during the day. Now I'm feeling like, oh, I wouldn't mind snacking on something. Just an easy sipping drink. You can go through many, many infusions. And that right level of texture in the mouth, getting the zing, getting that slight dry to juicy, and then the juiciness comes, and it's that, like I said, almost like a bay leaf custard sweetness in my mouth. And the right level of sweetness to creaminess, woody to herbaceous. I think that it is my favorite out of the 3. And we are like tweaking it. I mean, every iteration is an experience in itself, but we're trying to tweak this to sort of get what we feel is the perfect balance of picking and browning, and, you know, obviously the quality of the tea trees is paramount as well. Absolutely lovely. A very easy drinking tea. You're going to go through lots of infusions of this one, and they're going to fly by. This is Feather Maiden, the follow-up, the 2022 follow-up to Flower Crane and Peony Chirps. I hope that you enjoyed. If you pick it up, let me know your thoughts. That's it, tea heads. Check out other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I am a hot Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the good stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye. Hot. Why did I have to say hot? Idiot.